Trump attempts to bring law and order to Portland. But can he do that? We'll answer that. Also, Idaho makes a major wheat deal with Taiwan. Congressman Fulcher explains his position on issues happening in D.C. And an Idaho mayor is shot at over a garden hose. Yes, you heard me right. We'll get into that. This is the Yocal Idaho Midweek Report, where we give you an overview of the news you need to know in Idaho for the last week. Have you been wondering where the smoke has been coming from lately? I know I've talked to a couple people that have thought that, and or how Idaho is doing on wildfires. If so, stick with us to the end of the episode to find out. Plus how Idaho farmers did this year with general sales and their costs. To get full coverage on these important stories and much more, please go to our website to ensure you're the most informed Idahoan in the room, and also hit that subscribe/follow button right now. Now, let's jump into the episode. Starting off, President Trump announced Saturday he will send troops to Portland, Oregon, authorizing, quote, full force if necessary, end quote, to protect immigration and custom enforcement facilities from what he calls, quote, domestic terrorists, end quote. Trump directed Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth to deploy troops after repeated attacks on federal buildings by Antifa and other groups. The president's actions follow the September 10th assassination of conservative activist Charlie Kirk, which escalated his efforts to confront radical left violence. Portland has faced, as many of us know, ongoing protests at ICE facilities, with federal agents injured and protesters erecting guillotines outside buildings. Trump's legal authority for this, which you may be wondering how, comes through the Insurrection Act, an exemption to the Post Comitatus Act, if you're familiar, that normally bars military from domestic law enforcement. The president can deploy troops to suppress rebellion against the U.S. authority when normal judicial proceedings prove impractical. For Idaho's part on this enforcement reinforces our state's commitment to law and order. Governor Little has already deployed 14 National Guard members to support ICE operations in southern Idaho. Idaho stands with Trump's effort to restore safety and protect federal facilities from anarchist violence, plus any spillover that may come from Portland to Idaho, because we're not that far away from them. Portland Mayor Keith Wilson and other Democrats oppose the deployment, as you could probably guess, but Trump promised Thursday to, quote, do a pretty big number on those people in Portland. This decisive action shows federal commitment to protecting law enforcement and ending the chaos that has plagued Portland since 2020. And on a more positive note, we here in Idaho have secured a significant agricultural win last week when our state signed a $1.2 billion wheat trade agreement with Taiwan. The Taiwan Flour Mills Association committed to purchase Idaho wheat over the next 3 years, extending a partnership that has endured for more than 40 years, if you didn't know. Taiwan imports about 99% of its wheat demand and ranks as the 6th largest market for U.S. wheat. This deal matters because half of our wheat production gets exported, since we grow far more than we can actually consume here in Idaho. Lieutenant Governor Scott Benke, speaking from his farming background, emphasized how this puts money directly into farm families' pockets, something that they desperately need. We'll get onto that later. As for what the wheat will become once it gets to Taiwan, it usually gets turned into popular foods like dumplings, dim sum, and noodles. The agreement shows the premium quality of Idaho soft white wheat, valued so highly that Taiwan pays tariff exemptions to secure steady supplies. For the average Idahoan, this deal strengthens our agricultural economy and maintains our position as Taiwan's second largest trading partner after Canada. While agriculture still is a major part of our state's economy, these international partnerships make sure that our farmers remain prosperous and competitive. Hey, 1 second. Did you hear about any of those other news stories this last week? If not, and if you don't want to miss out on any other stuff about Idaho, make sure to subscribe or follow us so you don't miss any of our future Idaho content. And speaking about Idaho internationally, or at this point nationally, Idaho Congressman Russ Fulcher shared his thoughts on the massive events shaking D.C. this last week. With Charlie Kirk's murder at the Utah Valley University still fresh in everyone's mind, Fulcher warned that our nation stands, quote, on the precipice, end quote, of either more copycat attacks or a real awakening about protecting free speech. Starting with that, the assassination has caused something across the country that has troubled Representative Fulcher. Over 145 people have been fired for their comments about Kirk's death. And Fulcher calls this, quote, a direct strike against the First Amendment, end quote. He sees this moment as potentially dangerous for our constitutional rights to speak freely without fear. And then also on the government shutdown you're probably hearing news about, Fulcher predicts it will happen since Republicans and Democrats remain stuck. He dismissed President Trump's threats of massive firings as more than just negotiation tactics that probably won't impact Idaho much. The congressman expects any shutdown to be brief, not drawn out. And then also on the Epstein files, which are very sticky when it comes to Washington, Fulcher broke with Trump's position and called for full release. He supports accountability for anyone involved in trafficking, saying, quote, we have an obligation to the victims, end quote. Despite opposing the administration on this issue, he doesn't fear political retaliation from the president. These events show how quickly our political climate can shift, and why it is important to know how your representatives are representing you. It's almost like it's in the word, to support them or keep them accountable. And then coming back to Idaho's farms, they achieved something remarkable this year. They set a record for agricultural production. The total value of agricultural production in Idaho rose 3% in 2024 to $12.6 billion, the highest we've ever seen. But there is a little bit of a bitter truth with that news. Despite this incredible harvest, our farming families have taken home less money than they have in years past. The numbers tell a sobering story. While production increased by 3%, farming expenses rose twice as fast, at 6%, reaching $7.2 billion. Every single input cost more: feed, seed, fertilizers, pesticide, fuel, electricity, and transportation all climbed higher. The result, as you can probably guess, net farming income dropped by 13% from last year and is down a staggering 30% compared to 2022. Teton farmer Dwight Little captures the reality, quote, on the crop side, it's pretty tough right now. Everything is in the tank right now except cattle and calves, end quote. This year, instead of crops subsidizing his cattle operation, the cows subsidized his farm, the other way around. The livestock sector performed better with a 17% increase to $7.5 billion, while crop values fell by 12% to about $4.8 billion. This means, getting out of all the percentages and stuff, our 22,000 farm families are working harder than ever, but seeing their paychecks shrink substantially. If you've liked the Midweek Report and it's done a good job in informing you about what's going on in the state of Idaho and about stories you haven't heard about before, hit the like button and follow button so you can stay connected with us and help us reach more folks who love Idaho just like yourself. And coming out of the farm rural areas into town, a major geothermal line broke this last week in downtown Boise, forcing crews to shut down Capitol Boulevard between Myrtle and Board Streets. The break happened Wednesday afternoon at the busy intersection of Capitol and Myrtle, creating a traffic headache that will last until October 3rd. City crews discovered the damage was worse than first thought, requiring them to replace asphalt and sidewalk while fixing the underground pipes. They also had to close 2 northbound lanes on Myrtle Street and shut down crosswalks on north and east sides of the intersection. This geothermal system, for those new to Idaho, has heated the downtown area since 1983, making it the largest municipal geothermal heating system in the country. The network delivers 177-degree water through 20 miles of underground pipes to warm more than 6 million square feet of building space, including the state capitol and Boise State University. So if you want to go experience it, you can go to the Capitol. It is always warm during session. It is so nice. The city has, however, been working to replace the entire original system with new leak-resistant pipes over the coming years. While these upgrades cause temporary disruptions, they will hopefully ensure our unique heating system keeps serving the downtown buildings for decades to come. Drivers, however, should avoid the area following posted detour signs until repairs are finished in the coming weeks. And then going from Ada County to Canyon County out west of Boise, Mormon leaders have secured land for what could become Caldwell's first Mormon temple. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints bought about 19.2 acres in Canyon County this July, months after announcing plans for a temple in the Caldwell area. A little bit of some sleuthing work here. The property sits southwest of Orchard and South Florida Avenue, about 6 miles from downtown Caldwell and 5.5 miles from Nampa. Church officials won't confirm the specific site will house the temple, but the timing and size offers some clues. At about 19 acres, it matches other Idaho temple sites. Meridian's temple sits on about 18 acres, while Boise's covers about 11 acres, so very close to the same size, actually maybe a bit larger. This marks the only major land purchase that they have also made in Canyon County over the past year, adding to the clues. President Russell Nelson announced the Caldwell Temple in April alongside 14 other worldwide, bringing Idaho's temple count to 11. The Treasure Valley currently has temples in Boise, dedicated in 1984, and Meridian, completed in 2017. Idaho's Mormon population, for context, has grown to 475,000 members across 1,200 congregations. Local stake president Jason Nelson says the announcement, quote, caught everyone by surprise, end quote, but reflects the valley's rapid growth. The new temple will serve members from Eastern Oregon, Weiser, and McCall who currently travel to existing facilities. The construction timeline, however, remains unclear, though, because church officials say temple projects typically take several years from announcement to completion. Did you know about any of the news we've talked about? If not, please don't hesitate to share this episode with your friends and family so they can know what's going on in the state we all love. And then coming to the story that we hinted earlier, last Wednesday, a simple dispute over a water hose nearly turned deadly in Arimo, a small town of 360 people south of Pocatello. The incident started when 47-year-old Brandon Hess stretched his water hose across a public road. Mayor Lonnie Gunter went to Hess's house to ask him to move the hose. When Hess refused, Gunter returned around 11 a.m. with a Bannock County Sheriff's deputy to resolve the matter. That's when things escalated dangerously. Hess fired shots at both the mayor and deputy, with at least one bullet striking the mayor's car. No one was injured, but Hess then barricaded himself inside his house. The STAR team, our multi-agency SWAT unit, responded immediately. For hours, authorities tried to negotiate with Hess using loudspeakers and deployed tear gas to coax him out. Finally, around 7 p.m., so most of the day, SWAT used flashbangs and entered the home, taking Hess into custody alive. Hess now faces felony charges of aggravated assault. This incident reminds us how quickly neighborhood disagreements can spiral out of control when pride and anger take over reason and respect for authority. And then staying over in eastern Idaho, and less of a human issue, but more of a natural one, a wildfire north of Ketchum has grown to over 300 acres, forcing residents east of Highway 75 into evacuation readiness status. The Lake Creek fire started Saturday afternoon around 2 p.m., and by Sunday evening, crews had achieved 0% containment. Blaine County Sheriff's Office placed residents from Lake Creek Road to Eagle Creek Road on ready status, meaning they should be prepared to leave at a moment's notice. Trail, picnic, and pond areas around Lake Creek have already been evacuated. The Sawtooth National Forest has ordered aerial support to battle the blaze. As for the more broader impacts of wildfire season, as we're wrapping it up across our state, air quality has varied. The Treasure Valley currently shows good to moderate air quality levels, though we had a little bit of some more issues earlier on the week, and wildfire smoke from different regions continues to drift into the state. Central and northern Idaho faces the greatest challenges, however, with areas near active fires experiencing unhealthy conditions for sensitive groups. Eastern Idaho with this fire also is seeing light smoke drifting in from that and from Montana's fires. With that said, temperature inversions remain the primary culprit behind poor air quality in our valleys. These weather patterns trap smoke, vehicle emissions, and other pollutants close to the ground until morning winds clear the air. If you're new to the area, you're probably learning about this. Officials expect conditions to improve later this week as weather patterns shift. That said, thank you for listening to the entire report. I sincerely hope you found it enjoyable and valuable. If you like the Midweek Report, make sure to check out our other content on our website, where we're able to cover far more news. Also, if we missed any important points or provided incorrect information, please feel free to reach out to us via email or on Twitter by tweeting us at @LocalYocal Idaho. With the small team we have, we're not able to cover everything, but we do our best to cover the most interesting and important stories. Thank you for your continued support and assistance. That's all for now, and I wish you a fantastic rest of your week. Godspeed.